best type of marketing is marketing that doesn't feel like marketing. It makes the people feel like they're a part of it. And when it's done right, corporations think it's marvelous. They feed us these ideas and then we place them in our hearts to sit. It's why players are good at getting chicks. It's why Nike is good at selling kicks. It's why Disney is loved by all the kids. Why McDonald's owners is super rich. We too blinded to
Branding, marketing, and the all-powerful logo have more of a sway over your purchasing decision than you're probably willing to admit. Now in this video we're going to look mostly at the logo. You might just see a logo as a cute cartoon image that brands slap onto their products, but it's more than that. Brands use logos to embody psychologies that attract the customer. Brands also use logos to create that consumer familiarity. By showing that same consistent cartoon or symbol, they're able to get it in the customer's heads a little bit by putting it on all their billboards and videos. The logo is also used by brands to create from that consumer familiarity a consumer to brand loyalty, so that those consumers and customers become loyal to that brand and purchase from that brand more and more. The first aspect of the logo that influences customers' purchasing decisions that we're going to look into is its ability to embody different psychologies. Now we see this often within movement marketing, where brands attribute themselves to a different psychology that they want to get behind and they want to familiarize themselves with, so that customers and consumers see that and then relate that brand to that positive idea. A huge example of this movement marketing, or brands attributing different philosophies to themselves, is Colin Kaepernick and the Nike campaign. Nike ran a campaign where they supported and empowered Colin Kaepernick's NFL protesting. And that gained a lot of controversy while also attributing them a positive, rebellious nature that ended up selling a lot of shoes.
That's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
Another example of this is the Gillette's "A Best a Man Can Be" ad campaign.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it?
Now this was hot off the tails off the Me Too movement, and this really empowered men to be more than what media tells them to be. And Gillette was also in the midst of controversy here, but by attributing themselves to this philosophy of modern masculinity, they were able to have a good brand image through this campaign.
But something finally changed.
Some brands take it a step further though, by not just finding other psychologies and attributing themselves to it, but creating their own psychologies and their own ideas of what a product should be and what kind of philosophies they align themselves with. We see this in brands such as Apple. Apple has done a great job of embodying their own psychologies rather than taking on the mantle of others.
Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
Apple has created a mythos within their logo and brand of this bleeding edge, almost higher than technology. And this is seen in brand marketing researcher Max Lusinski's quote on their logo. Lusinski parallels the partially bitten apple to the Greek mythological character of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods, saying that the biting the apple in Western culture carries with it the meaning of yearning for divine knowledge. Lusinski goes on to say that the person that bit the apple, Eve, represents Apple's feminine, sleek emphasis within their designs. In the early 1980s, when their brand was really coming into fruition, they starkly contrasted the other brands of the time within the technological industry. Apple's exceptional ability to draw not just customers, but fans to their company has paid off in dividends as far as their sales and their overall brand recognition goes. something called self-personality congruence. Now, self-personality congruence is something that every customer does when deciding to or deciding against aligning themselves with another brand. Brand marketing researchers Wu and Lin say that self-personality congruence, or a customer's personality compatibility with a brand's psychologies and values, plays a crucial role in a customer's willingness to buy a product. Because, quote, as consumers become more knowledgeable about the brand, they will have more confidence in choosing the brand due to stronger self-personality congruence. Apple's forefront and clear brand psychologies have paid off in the long run. This is due to the consumer's stronger self-personality congruence, because they are aware and clear of where the brand stands and what the brand's philosophies are, and upon realizing those and being aware of those, that consumer is then able to become loyal to that company, making sure that every time they release a new product, they're the first there. Another aspect of the logo that makes it vastly influential on the consumer's brand purchasing decision is its ability to foster consumer familiarity. Now, this isn't quite the consumer loyalty we touched on and are going to delve into later, but this is merely just familiarity, just recognizing the brand from commercials or ads or billboards that you see. This can largely sway a consumer's decision, because as they see repeated ads and the like, they become more familiar with that brand, and the more familiar they become, the more they like that brand. Now, before this consumer brand familiarity can be grown, the brand first has to create something called their visual brand identity. Social psychologists Phillips, McQuarrie, and Griffin define visual brand identity as this. Visual brand identity can be thought of as the holistic visual style that identifies the brand, a recognizable something that cannot be decomposed into a list of its visible parts. One of the most crucial visible parts within a brand's visual identity is the logo. The logo, in tandem with the rest of the brand visual identity, reiterates itself throughout every form of brand marketing, advertising, and the like that consumers endure. This brand familiarity is largely unintentional and is really just a byproduct from a consumer's enduring and consuming of various visual brand identities. And the more we are exposed to those visual brand identities, the more we grow to like them. Now, this may seem weird how we inexplicably like them just because we see them a lot, but it's true. This is due to something called the mere exposure effect. Social psychologist Robert Zajonc defined the mere exposure effect as this: an increase in favor towards an object for which a positive attitude exists after the subject is exposed repeatedly to stimuli linked to the object of the attitude. Or in other words, as the customer is repeatedly confronted with stimuli linked to the brand, such as their visual brand identity or logo, they begin to like that brand more and more, because what was once foreign is now a very familiar brand. But you don't have to take my or some social psychologist's word for it. Zajonc ran experiments testing this mere exposure effect. He gathered participants and presented them with irregular octagons, some that they had seen before and some they had never seen. The results showed that the participants had a clear preference towards the octagons that they had seen in the past. And this further confirms that customers have an increased preference towards stimuli that they have seen before when making a brand purchasing decision. Now, we've discussed the ideas of a logo being able to embody a psychology, and we've talked about how logos create this consumer familiarity with the brand. But what we're going to look at next is how that familiarity can eventually turn into loyalty. According to brand marketing expert Oliver, there exists a positive relationship between customer satisfaction and brand loyalty, saying that if consumers feel satisfied with the first experience of buying, they will possibly decide to buy the same smartphone or series of products of that same brand in the future. So through that familiarity, they become accustomed to that product and that brand, they buy the brand, and if they receive satisfaction from that brand, loyalty is sparked. And while a lot of us, when making a purchasing decision, would like to think that we're unbiased and making the best bang for our buck decision, oftentimes we're really just victims of brand loyalty.
Lil Yachty here is paid by Sprite to write lyrics about Sprite.
Call like a Sprite soda. Call like a Sprite soda.
I still wouldn't tell you to drink Sprite.
Researchers Liu and Liang ran studies with eye tracking tests and online surveys to test this brand loyalty. Liu and Liang looked at a sample of the average smartphone purchasing decision to sort of examine the power of this brand loyalty in reference to other purchasing factors such as price and specs. After doing their testing, they found that more than half of the subjects tended to view the brand logo, which they loved most, and then compared the specifications of the different smartphones. So the specifications and the price and the other smartphones were put to the wayside as the subject looked immediately towards the brand that they had the previous loyalty and loved the most. Now, this immediate viewing of the brand logo is very important because as Liu and Liang were running an eye tracking test, this draws a direct connection to a person's biology and their consumer brand interests. So going forward with this knowledge that we're biologically connected and drawn towards what the brand we love most and that we have loyalty towards, we can infer that it is innate within the customer to be primarily drawn into a purchasing scenario by their brand loyalty. The world of brand marketing is cutthroat, and as we've seen throughout this video, one of the greatest tools at their disposal to manipulate their customers is the logo. The logo's ability to embody psychologies, create consumer familiarity, and foster brand loyalty is influential in swaying a consumer's purchasing decision. So now it's up to you. Going forward with this knowledge, what are you going to do when you're making those brand purchasing decisions? Are you going to be aware of how brand marketing influences you, subliminally or otherwise? That's the question I'll leave you guys with today. Thanks for watching.